Philadelphia 76ers secured the third overall pick, shifting their future outlook in a major way and providing Daryl Morey with a bit of job security. But if we know one thing about Daryl Morey, he is not afraid to make a splash and now has an asset in his pocket. So could a wandering eye to a disgruntled star such as Kevin Durant force him to make a deal to try and further jumpstart this Sixers team back in the contention category? I do want to break down a report. We have a mock trade coming out from CBS Sports attaching the Sixers to Kevin Durant, who we do know is quite disgruntled out there in Phoenix, and I do think in all likelihood will be dealt. But should it be the Sixers that pulls the trigger? I do not think so whatsoever. Going to explain exactly why. But before I get into it, do want to remind you guys, as always, to make sure you are hitting that subscribe button. At this point in time, 38.4% of you guys watching these videos, that's all who has subscribed right now. So let's keep this Sixers Digest family growing. Come join the party. There are better days ahead for this Sixers franchise, mostly due to the lottery last night. So we've kind of hit on it a little bit already on this channel. They do have the third overall pick. It was an electric night, allowing them to retain that. As we know, a 64% chance of keeping the pick going into the night, and it did ultimately happen. This is a franchise-changing moment, as you do have a chance to add a significant young talent, to extend the window, to pave that pathway to the era after Joel Embiid, as well as help win now. That is too good of an opportunity to pass up in my mind, but let's hear out the article a little bit. Now, once again, this is written by CBS Sports, and the mock trade that it does come up with is Kevin Durant for the Sixers. The deal being Paul George and the third overall pick in exchange for Kevin Durant. The article writes, the 76ers really could go in any direction. They're the rare top three team that could justify a trade down. While Flagg and Harper are the obvious two picks, it's a bit of a crapshoot starting at number 3. If they don't love anyone at that spot and somebody else does, it never hurts to collect a few extra assets. And the 76ers probably need to shed a bit of salary given how expensive it could be to re-sign Quentin Grimes. So using such a trade as a dumping ground could make sense as well. And it continues on. But come on, this is Daryl Morey. Nobody hunts stars like Daryl Morey, and this pick is one of the most powerful tools he's ever had to do it with. So here he takes one last swing on the Joel Embiid era and escapes the last 3 years of George's contract by going after Durant. Given his age at 37, it's unlikely anyone is willing to offer something more valuable. Under normal circumstances, it would never make sense to trade a pick like this for such an old player. If any part of this front office thinks Embiid can be an MVP candidate again, Durant makes Philadelphia one of the favorites in the East. Still, don't count this as one especially likely. Morey himself told reporters that the plan is to keep the pick. Given the enormous medical risk Embiid poses, that's probably the right call. The pick is a chance to grab Tyrese Maxey, a long-term running mate, and with Grimes and Jared McCain in place as well. The 76ers could develop a pretty interesting young core independent of Embiid. If a younger star becomes available, of course the 76ers would explore it, but in all likelihood, the Sixers are taking a youngster. So I do like that they kind of talk themselves out of it in this overall paragraph here, but to make the case and talk through it a little bit more, I'm not here to argue that Paul George is a better basketball player than Kevin Durant. He's not, and I won't. But to dive into this, why I think that is the wrong outlook to take on this, this is all reliant on a gamble on Joel Embiid, and I think we all should not be making those all-in pushes at this current point. Yes, they should be going all in to win next year, but not to minimize the window to just winning now. This is too rare of an opportunity to pass up. Now, to talk about Kevin Durant a little bit here, and I do want to discuss the financials as well, he is still playing at an incredibly high level. 26.6 points per game last year, 6.0 rebounds, 4.2 assists, 1.2 blocks, shot 52.7% from the field, 43% from 3, 50.6% from the corner there. To contrast that with our guy PG here, 16.2 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, 4.3 assists, shot 43% from the floor, 35.8% from 3, just 27.7% from the corner there. It was an uncharacteristic Paul George season. Now, I understand he was bad last year. Don't let me sugarcoat that whatsoever. He underwhelmed to even the lowest of expectations, but I'm willing to give Paul George another chance. I think everything that could go wrong did go wrong for these Sixers, with Paul George a significant part of this. Let's not forget that the season that he had last year started with a bone bruise in preseason. That ended up another bone bruise once the season did start. That he was dealing with a ton of off-the-court stuff, with his house being set on fire in those California fires out there, dealing with family drama and moving. There was a lot going on in the world of Paul George, and more importantly, on the basketball court, he was brought in to be the co-star here. And when you're brought in to be the co-star, to be the Robin, and your Batman is not showing up on a regular enough basis, I have a hard time fully coming down on Paul George. But that all brings me to the point for why it is so important not to double down on this just star concept of building around Joel Embiid. Is there a world where Joel Embiid returns to his MVP self? Sure, maybe. But are we willing to guarantee that is the case? I think absolutely not. Now, to make the contractual situation here, there's not a significant difference in the contracts of Paul George and Kevin Durant here. The biggest difference would be you do cut a year off it. That's not something that motivates me to the level of wanting to do this deal. And I do think that they should be leaning more and more into this youth movement. Even if Embiid is back and playing at his 100% version of himself next year, what is the over-under for games that he does play? Do you see a world where this guy plays 50 games in a season again? I kind of think probably not. Now, with that being said, I still believe Joel Embiid could be an impact player who helps this Sixers team. I don't think he's going to win MVP again. I don't think he's going to be playing 70 games in a season again or anything close to that. And that is why you start to have to turn the keys over to the franchise. Jared McCain, Tyrese Maxey, step up. It is your time. And whoever you can add with this third overall pick has to be the guy there. That has to be the third piece of this. Now, Joel is still going to be a piece of this. Paul George is still going to be a piece of this. They're each under contract for 3 or 4 more seasons, both of them there. Joel through 2028, 3 more years on Paul George's deal. It all has to work together as one functional team, but we can't just double down and invest in keeping the window so narrow. This is a chance to build a long-term winner in Philadelphia by getting this third pick. We have to look at this as a blessing by the basketball gods and trading a potential career of a VJ Edgecombe or Ace Bailey or Con Kneppel or whoever you want to talk about at the 3 pick. We are going to get into each of them on this channel, and I am a race for ace kind of guy myself, running the Ace Bailey train at this current point in time. Again, we are going to talk through each of the options, but that's how I feel at this current point. Now, as the article alluded to, it does feel like the Sixers are on that same exact page. We did get this quote from Daryl Morey when he was asked if the plan is to select a player with the third pick. He said, quote, "Yeah, that's the plan. To get a high upside player that we also think can contribute right away is a big deal, and we feel like pick 3 is a great spot to be." Now, to take it away from Kevin Durant, even if we're having this conversation about stars with a little bit more life in them, let's use Giannis as an example here. I'm still not willing to make that gamble that Joel Embiid is 100% ready to compete for a championship as the guy next year. And I understand bringing in a guy like Giannis does change those calculations a little bit, certainly takes some strain off Joel Embiid for both the regular season and postseason standpoint there, but it still narrows the window. To me, I'm not saying we're turning over the Joel Embiid era, but we are starting a new page in moving forward. The future beyond Joel looks brighter than it ever did before. That there was never this next generation of Sixers basketball, and now we kind of have it. There could be 3 players of 24 years or younger with legitimate all-star potential, and that is enough for the next core. That is what we should be embracing here in Philadelphia. They absolutely need to walk away on draft night with a key rookie player, a guy that can be a foundational piece for the next era of Sixers basketball. So I am sure that there will be some trade rumors buzzing up. I am sure that Daryl Morey will evaluate his options, work the phones, and see what offers could come across. But to me, it would be an absolutely massive miss if they do not make a selection on draft night in those first handful of picks. Even if you want to make the case about moving down, because I get the argument that it does feel to me like there's a pretty clear-cut top 2 in that draft, or in this draft, with it being Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper as the first and second overall picks. It is more of a crapshoot beyond that. That you can make the case for a couple other guys if there is a dude or a team that very much wants a guy at that third pick, and you can pick up a couple more assets, drop down a spot or 2, and still make a selection. You can talk me into that a little bit depending on how things play out. But they absolutely need to walk away with a legitimate top-tier rookie, a guy that could be a potential foundational piece of this franchise moving forward to pair with Maxey and McCain moving forward. So we're going to dive into exactly who that player could be, start doing some scouting report stuff as we do know the exact outlook for where their draft selection is. Very excited that this is how things played out for the Sixers team. I am more optimistic about this franchise than I've been in several months at this point. There would have been a dark period moving forward if they did not at least keep this draft pick, but we don't have to worry about that world because we are not living it in this current point. Shout out to the basketball guys for rewarding us and giving us that third pick. Now it is up to Daryl Morey to maximize it. And now shout out to you guys for continuing to tune in this videos. I know it was a brutal season this year, but the better days have come, and we're going to be breaking things from every single angle down here on Sixers Digest. So if you have not already, make sure you are smashing that subscribe button. Once again, only 61.8% of you guys have not subscribed to the channel just yet. Again, the better days are here, and we want each and every one of you guys a part of it. So make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like on this video here. I'll be back talking with you next time. Peace.